This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com.
Do you think they made Bray wait too long, or could this have been the right time to go with him?
Well, being a guy that, I'm opinionated, but I have personal likes and dislikes, just like we all do. I always thought that Bray Wyatt, who had the most creative of characters,
Yep,
that he came up with it. It was a part of him deep down that lived in him. That's the reason he was able to pull it off. So it wasn't him playing a character. It was just a sliver of the real him amped up. And that's always the characters that get over. I felt like he had a firm grip on it. He was a big physical guy on top of that. But you got to win the big ones, Conrad. You have to win the pay-per-views.
yeah.
And he went on a string of just, whoever's bright idea thought it was, well, this guy's, that character's over and he's doing a great job and he's a heel and you can beat him every pay-per-view. No, you can't. You should have been shoving him every pay-per-view and have that guy waiting at the end of the rainbow, if it was going to be a Roman Reigns, to pay it off with. But you got to go back and look at those records. And it was like, I know that he went like 0-6 or 0-8 at some point, something ridiculous. But you got to win. You got to win the big one.
It feels like, sometimes on Something to Wrestle, we would have conversations about guys like The Undertaker or guys like Jake Roberts, who had these really incredible gimmicks, for lack of a better word. And he would always say something like, oh, they didn't need a belt, because their character was going to be sort of bulletproof regardless of wins and losses. And that does say a lot about your character development and how good you are at doing that connecting with the audience and creating a character that resonates with them. But at the same time, it can almost be a curse, because it feels like that's the same type of brush that Bray was painted with, where they got a lot of losses on him, to your point. I mean, I remember that 0-8 stretch where you just know, oh, Bray's on pay-per-view. Well, he's losing. But I just, who's in his ear? Who's talking to the man behind the character about, hey, this is sort of the worst backhanded compliment you could ever get, so don't take it as a negative. Does he get sort of in his own head about his positioning on the card when he loses over and over and over? Or is that just not who he is?
Well, you get to a point where you have to start thinking about it. And, and the fact that if you go back, and you can go back just about and pull every one of those matches when he started that losing streak, and get some cutaways to the audience, get some reactions from the audience during the body of the match, and then get your reaction, when the finish went down. And each time that he got beat, it was diminished and it went down, and it wasn't a big victory. When beating Bray Wyatt was not a big victory for one of our baby faces, you had to sit back in your chair and go, damn, I didn't think it's possible, but they've killed this guy off.
Right.
And you're talking about a horrible, horrible crime. A 300+ pound guy that can move like that with a gimmick like that and an entertainment, just a creepy, scary crew around him. I mean, Big Red and Harper. Come on. You're telling me with those three guys in the zip code that you couldn't figure out a way to not beat Bray that many times? I mean, you got a fail safe. You got monsters wandering around everywhere. And if that continues to be the reason that he doesn't get beat, and they leave people laying every pay-per-view for 8 weeks instead of beating Bray for 8 weeks, you might have some hot heels.
Let me ask, do you think Vince McMahon, I don't know how to phrase it. Do you think Vince McMahon gets the Bray Wyatt character, or does everybody around him have to just sell him on it? Because this doesn't feel like something that's in Vince's wheelhouse.
Oh, I have no idea. You're asking an unknown that maybe doesn't have an answer. I know the audience got it.
Yeah.
And I know every single night and every house show, whether he was in the middle of his losses or his first loss or his last loss, it didn't matter. When those lights went out on the entrance and the music started, everybody in that arena had their cell phone light on. Now, if they didn't care, and I didn't look at that as being a babyface thing, it was a crowd participation thing because they loved his entrance. You know, they loved the character, and it was like a concert deal.
Yeah.
You know, when people go to the trouble collectively, thousands of them, to have their cell phone light on, they give a shit.
Yes,
So if you're in creative, Conrad, guess what? Pay attention to that.
yeah, you should give a shit too.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.